We begin our service today with the lighting of our chalice, which we do every Sunday, and with the lighting of our Advent candles, which we do at this time of year. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, representing the light of understanding, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. The 4 candles of our Advent wreath count down through the season of Advent, a time of waiting, of cultivating patience. This season asks us to hold faith that all that we are becoming is still awakening under the surface of our lives. Each of the 4 candles on the Advent wreath stand for a different longing of the human heart. Last Sunday we lit the candle of hope. Today we will light the candle of peace. And helping us light our chalice and Advent wreath today will be Henry Gittins. Thank you, Henry. We light the candle of peace with the words of Pema Chodron, a Buddhist nun. If we want there to be peace in the world, we have to be brave enough to soften what is rigid in our hearts, to find the soft spot and stay with it. We have to have that kind of courage and take that kind of responsibility. That is the true practice of peace. So may this time of waiting inspire our courage. May we find that soft spot in the pressures of this season and stay with it as we discern our way forward. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be at ease. And may we discover the true practice of peace within ourselves so that there might be peace in the world. Our opening hymn is number 226, People Look East. Please rise in body or spirit.
Welcome to First Parish in Bedford, a Unitarian Universalist congregation where we do our best to seek truth and live our values with support from one another. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whether you worship one God, many gods, or no God, you are welcome here. And if we have any visitors with us today who are new, we invite you to fill out a blue card that you can find in the pew if you are here in person. And for those here virtually, we invite you to fill out our virtual blue card at uubedford.org/newcomers/contact-us. I want to thank our music committee for a sold out and very successful Back Bay Ringers concert that happened this weekend. And we have a few upcoming events I want to highlight. One is that there will be a holiday season grief and loss sharing session today at 11:30 a.m. up in the Bacon Room. So if loss is on your heart this holiday season, you are warmly invited to join others to have that conversation. We have a Vesper service this Tuesday at 7 p.m. where we will be in silence with song and readings, and you're very welcome to join just to find some quiet and be together. That will also be available on Zoom. And next Sunday, we will have a carol sing service for all ages led by our ever-engaging music director, Brad Connor. So we strongly encourage all folks who enjoy singing holiday tunes to come and join for that morning's service. Afterward, we're going to have an all-ages service opportunity in the Bacon Room where we'll be assembling some gift bags for Santa for seniors that go to those who receive Meals on Wheels. And then if you didn't get enough caroling in the morning, which maybe you didn't, you can come back and carol some more. And this one will be the more traditional go out and about to people's homes type of caroling. It will start with a gathering in the common room at 4:30 p.m. and then head out at 5:15 p.m. So look for those details next Sunday. And now, before we get to our unison affirmation, we have some new members to invite into our community today and to honor and celebrate. And so I would like to invite up Reverend Jamie, our senior minister, Dave Southard, who is part of the Pathway to Membership group on the membership committee, as well as Nina Wampler, who has been in leadership with our membership committee as well, to welcome some of these folks into our community. Now, when we join this congregation, we join freely, knowing that the test is not whether you believe any certain thing, but whether you feel committed to this place as a spiritual or community or faith home for you. And we ask of our members that they participate in the life of our congregation, that they give of themselves as they are able from their time and their money and their energy. And we, in turn, offer all the spiritual nourishment, community support, and love that this community has to offer. And so I'll invite up our new members that have joined since the last time we held this ceremony, as well as two bonus old new members who were not here at our last ceremony and who we want to honor in person. And so as I call your name, please come up, and Dave will give you a flower and we will welcome you. You can come and line up right down here, and then we will have some words of commitment. So Maureen, Chris, and Malcolm Castiglione. And I should mention that we offer membership as a free commitment to those 16 and older, so including one of our younger members, Malcolm. I'd like to invite up Sue Turner. I'd like to invite up Maureen Rounds. And I'd like to invite up Leah Devereaux. And we are also honoring the late Rich Razumny, who joined our congregation before passing away. We're honoring him in our heart and with this beautiful Lego flower that his daughter is bringing up for us, and son as well, bringing up for us. Thank you. And we have a white lily for Rich. We also want to invite up Carol Gregory and Wendy Innes, who we read their names last ceremony but didn't get to see their beautiful faces and welcome them with flowers last time. And so we have just a few brief words from our board president. They would be read by our clerk, but she was not available this morning. So our board president, Sarah Dorr, will do those honors.
Good morning. Friends, you've joined a free church. Oh, you did. It sounded like it was loud anyway. Friends, you've joined a free church, a church with a proud heritage. No creed will bind your heart or mind. Live and speak as freely as you are able, with clarity, integrity, and courage.
And I invite the congregation to rise in body or in spirit, including those who are joining us virtually. You have some words to share back with our new members, printed in your order of worship. We welcome you into our liberal religious community. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Let us worship together in such affection that our differences strengthen one another. And you may remain standing as we will all recite together our unison affirmation printed in your order of worship. And I didn't cue you all that you'd need your orders of worship, so you can share them. And we will say together, love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en espíritu de amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. Thank you all, and we will celebrate our new members with some cake in the common room that will be served to all in a celebratory manner. We're so glad you have joined us.
Our story this morning is the Hanukkah story. It is so wonderful to hear all the voices in this space this morning. It's indeed a new member celebration. Long ago, before even our grandparents were alive, the land of Israel was ruled by a king named Antiochus Epiphanes IV, a Greek king whose people had taken control of many lands, including Israel. King Antiochus counted many Jews among his subjects in Israel, and these Jewish ancestors lived their lives according to Jewish customs and traditions. They celebrated weekly Shabbat and marked the important festivals of Passover, Sukkot, and Shavuot. These Jewish ancestors worshipped at the ancient temple in the city of Jerusalem. This temple was the holiest of holy places, the very center of Jewish life. But King Antiochus did not want to rule over a nation of many religions and many cultures. He wanted one nation with one religion and one culture. It was his, right? Not surprisingly. Usually when people are like, I only want one thing, they want it to be theirs. So he wanted all the people in the land to live the way he did and worship what he worshiped, the Greek gods and idols. And he wanted them to pray the way he prayed. And he did not want the Jewish people to do anything differently. Didn't want them to dress differently, didn't want them to pray differently, didn't want them to eat differently. And so under King Antiochus, the practice of Judaism was completely outlawed. He didn't allow the Jews to celebrate Shabbat or observe the festivals. He also didn't allow them from reading or studying their sacred texts, the Torah. But perhaps worst of all, he didn't allow Jewish worship in the temple, that very center of Jewish life. And he turned the temple into a place to worship his gods, many different gods in the Greek tradition, which, good for him, but, that temple already had a place in Jewish life. Now, many Jews were afraid for their lives, and they felt forced to follow the king's orders. But one group decided that they would not submit to the king, and they would not worship the foreign gods or give up their Jewish way of life. This group was called the Maccabees, and they were determined to take back their temple and defend their right to worship the way they wanted to. The Maccabees were led first by a man named Mattathias, and later by his son Judah. Compared to the king's army, they were very small in number, but they were filled with spirit. And with faith and relentless determination, the Maccabees won a stunning victory over the king's army. I could try to make a comparison between the Army-Navy game right now that happened this weekend, but I don't know that much about football. But this is considered one of the two miracles of Hanukkah. The small army of the Maccabees, in their faith, defeating the large king's army. The Maccabees successfully took back the temple from King Antiochus, but they were heartbroken to discover that the king had not taken care of their holy space. But they got to work cleaning and purifying it, and they removed all of the foreign idols and all the altars the king had set up inside. They lovingly cleansed every inch of the temple, and then, on the 25th day of the month of Kislev, the Maccabees held a glorious rededication ceremony. That is what the word Hanukkah means, dedication. And it comes from the moment that the temple was returned to the Jewish people. The most famous story that some of you might know, and gives us one of the main parts of celebrating Hanukkah, comes from the Talmud, which tells that when the Maccabees walked into the temple, they found only enough oil to light the menorah, the lamp, for one day. But miraculously, that small amount of oil lasted for 8 days, which is exactly how long it took for them to travel and bring back more oil. So today, the celebration of Hanukkah lasts 8 days in honor of the miracles, the miracle of the defeat of the army and the miracle of the oil lasting 8 days. 8 candles are lit. People eat fried foods, which is fantastic. Gotta go get myself some sufaganio, the jelly-filled donuts. Well, let me think a lot because I go for the jelly donuts. But with every lighting of the Hanukkah candle, we can remember the important message celebrated on this holiday to find light in the darkness and keep the light of religious freedom burning for all people and all time. And now I would like to invite Jen McLean to come up and light our menorah. We will light 3 candles, since last night was the 3rd night of Hanukkah, and the 4th candle is the shamash, the helper candle. There you go. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who has sanctified us with your commandments and command us to light the Hanukkah lights. Always more light. Thank you, Jen. Thank you. I wish all of you who celebrate and observe a wonderful continuing Hanukkah week. And I would now like to invite pre-K to 7th grade to exit to their classes, 6th, 7th in 204, pre-K to 5th in the Overlook Room. And we will now sing a wonderful blessing song. You will find it in your order of service.
Good morning. My name is Marge Heckman, and I'm a member of the lay pastoral team here at First Parish. At this time in the service, we invite anyone who would like to share a candle of joy or concern to come forward and light a candle. I would light one more candle for all those joys and concerns that we keep in our hearts, and I will be at the candle stand after the service if anyone would like to light a candle in private.
It is so good to have this community to celebrate with us in good times and be there with us in hard times. The community exists because so many choose freely to build and sustain it over time with the gift of your presence, with the many, many acts of service that create and recreate this community throughout the week and every Sunday, and with your financial generosity. We're going to take an offering now so we can continue to be there for each other long into the future. Please give joyfully and as you are able, and know that we are creating something good together here. The offering will now be taken.
My paternal grandfather was what I call a devout atheist. But what would you see on his lawn every December but giant inflatable Christmas decorations? It did seem like an interesting contrast. As a kid, honestly, I didn't think anything of it, but as an adult, now that my grandfather has died and I'm looking back on our traditions, I think about it a bit differently. My grandfather grew up in a Cuban-American family speaking Spanish, but once he started going to school, he was told, no, you have to only speak English. And then he married an English-speaking white woman, my grandmother, who he started dating when he was only a teenager. And he raised all of his children to speak only English, and he became Ralph Gonzalez instead of Rafael Gonzalez. It is an easy thing to do in this country, to try to assimilate as much as you can if you are able. I imagine he felt isolated from his Cuban American community because, as an avowed communist whose family came pre-Fidel Castro, he didn't have a lot in common with the other Miami Cubans. But there was one day of the year when we always had the lechon and the black beans and rice and the plátanos fritos and the flan de tres leches, and that one day of the year was December 24th, La Noche Buena, when we would do Christmas Cuban style and my dad's family. And I wonder if perhaps his love of Christmas was really his love of his Cuban heritage and nothing much to do with the holiday itself. I remember when he was older in his last years, one day he looked at me and said sadly to me, "You speak Spanish better than I do now." And it was his first language. But I will say that in 2020, the year that everyone was celebrating Christmas separately for COVID reasons, my own little lechon, and I saw on Facebook all of my cousins posting about their various pork dinners with the garlic and the lemon, all holding on to a little bit of our family tradition and heritage. It's somewhat understandable that my grandfather could separate Christmas from Christianity, which he was not a fan of. As Dorothy Africa just pointed out in Our Joys and Sorrows, much of what we do at Christmas is really pagan traditions that were adapted by the colonizing forces of Christianity and turned into this sort of mishmash of solstice-y, consumeristy, wintry something that is so ubiquitous this time of year. Just the other day, our staff team had gathered to sign holiday cards, and we ended up having a little chat about whether Frosty the Snowman was a Christmas song or whether it was just a winter song, because it doesn't actually say anything about Christmas, it's about a snowman. We were all thinking, probably a winter song, and then our incredible youth choir director, who grew up in an Orthodox Jewish family, said, "No, it's a Christmas song." It's hard to see the water you're swimming in when you're part of the water. It's a lot easier to see it if you're outside. And the thing about Unitarian Universalism is that though we certainly celebrate and honor the beauty of many faith traditions, we are swimming very much so in the water of Christianity, culturally, and especially at this time of year. We come indeed from the Puritans, who founded this congregation and who did not share our love of all people, of religious freedom. They wanted religious freedom for themselves, but they certainly didn't want it for the indigenous people who were occupying this land, people who they didn't see as human or worthy. The word Christian hegemony, or rather the phrase Christian hegemony, is a bit of a fancy term. I remember that when I was in undergrad, we joked a lot about hegemony because it was one of those words you toss around in class that seems sort of fake. But I take the definition from Paul Kivell, a social justice author, who defines it as the everyday, pervasive, deep-seated, and institutionalized dominance of Christian institution, Christian values, Christian leaders, and Christians as a group. And indeed, we are living in a culture that is very much that Christian hegemony. My understanding of one of the reasons that Hanukkah went from a relatively minor Jewish holiday to a much bigger festivity is because of Christian hegemony, is because of Christmas and the absolute chokehold it has on the month of December. Mireille Silkoff wrote in the New York Times earlier this week, in the early 20th century, as Eastern European Jews arrived in cities like New York and took up the celebration of Christmas as a way to prove their Americanness, synagogues and Jewish groups made a dedicated push to transform the minor holiday of Hanukkah into a major December happening. Of course, Hanukkah did not only come to prominence because of cultural Christian hegemony, the kind where all the elementary school students are given Santas to color in class. It also came to prominence because of the horrific, violent, genocidal kind of Christian hegemony. The Holocaust was a major factor in emphasizing Hanukkah as a Jewish holiday. The Maccabean revolt against Hellenization serving as a touchstone in the face of such massive and systemic murder. And this year, Silkoff notes, Hanukkah feels complicated. I confess that at this moment of global horror, I've wondered whether celebration of any sort can feel appropriate, she muses. My acquaintance Emily Cohen, who I used to serve on my college's multi-faith council with as a student, wonders the same thing in a Teen Vogue essay. Her first secular byline as a rabbi, she proudly noted on Facebook. She writes, "Is that what we should do this year? Attempt a happy Hanukkah in the hopes that it will indeed give us the strength for this moment? Or should we have a more somber celebration?" Both she and Silkoff are grappling with what it means to be Jewish in this moment, as I know so many of my Jewish beloveds are doing. I've seen Emily, or Rabbi Cohen, perhaps I should say, posting regularly about the importance of empathy, about trying to understand one another within the Jewish community across differences and understandings of Israel and Palestine, and about how all Jews are Jewish enough. I know how live these questions are from my conversation with a dedicated Beyond volunteer in my immigration network, who has worked with her Temple's Israel-Palestine focus group for years and wonders if she still has a place in our immigration network as our core team considers sending out resources on solidarity with Gaza from other immigrant rights organizations. I know how live these questions are from my conversation with a loved one who, after a variety of struggles and disappointments with their temple, wonders if it's finally time to leave. Despite their leadership on multiple committees, they feel very alone there with their own support of people in Gaza, given the way the congregation feels. And these are just two examples of the many conversations I've had or observed in the past couple months on Jewish belonging and identity. And as a non-Jew, I can only imagine the painful complexity of this moment. So I deeply appreciate Rabbi Cohen's work from afar, just as I once appreciated it up close when we served together on the Multi-Faith Council at Macalester College. In her Teen Vogue article, she also notes that, of course, anti-Semitism never went away, and we know that all too well, having witnessed the loss of our dear congregant's brother in 2018 to anti-Semitic violence. But she also notes that it is currently on the rise, which we know too. Vandalism of temples, bomb threats to synagogues, desecration of Jewish graves are just a few of the examples that she cites. Meanwhile, in Massachusetts, the openly Nazi-identified group NSC 131 continues to rally and march, focusing for the time being on our migrant neighbors living in hotels. But make no mistake, they would turn on our Jewish people or anyone who isn't a straight, able-bodied, gender-conforming white Christian. I will admit that though it is my professional and spiritual duty to find hope, I often succumb to despair these days. Sometimes I feel like we have already lost. like the leaders and kings who want everybody to be exactly like them with no exceptions, are the ones in control of everything. Sometimes I feel like all there will be from now on is climate catastrophe and war and dysfunctional or fascist governments. Sometimes I feel like there is no oil in the lamp and there is no use trying to light it. The forces of white supremacy and Christian hegemony, of patriarchy and greed have won. But I know that my late communist, atheist, Cuban American labor organizer grandfather would never let me give up. And I know that you too have ancestors who have survived, ancestors who have survived violence and forced assimilation of some kind or another. Maybe you even have ancestors who survived genocide, here as indigenous people in the Americas, or as European Jews. We all have in our lineage spiritual or biological ancestors who say to us, "We fought for you. Now you fight for the next generation." And so we light the candles. We light all of the candles. We light the candles where we wait for peace, and we light the flaming chalice, a symbol that comes from Unitarian resistance to Nazi regimes, and we light the menorah, the symbol of dedication of the temple, and we light our joys and our sorrows. We light the candles. Just as people are lighting candles all over the world, especially the candles of the menorah. People are lighting the candles full of grief for lost loved ones who were killed in horrific violence on October 7th. People are lighting candles in solidarity, putting menorahs in their windows so that their Jewish neighbors will feel more safe. People are lighting candles at Hanukkah for ceasefire demonstrations, like the one on the Boston Public Library steps on Thursday evening. People are lighting candles despite the latest hateful graffiti on their temple. People are lighting candles full of joy, celebrating with their family in adorable homemade Hanukkah pajamas. Yes, that last one is based on a photo I received last night from a loved one. And so we light the candles, facing our legacy of the Puritans who founded this congregation. We light the candles. Grappling with global terror and violence, we light the candles. Working always for solidarity and safety, especially for our Jewish and Muslim loved ones and our migrant neighbors, we light the candles. We light the candles, though the oil seems very low, and we are exhausted, and we are grieving, and we are traumatized, and we light the candles. Even when we are sick of hearing "all I want for Christmas is you" everywhere we turn, we light the candles. We light the candles in honor of those who resisted assimilation and those who chose it to survive. We light the candles in honor of every life lost to violence. We light the candles in honor of our humanity and the humanity of every single human being. May these flames shine brightly in these dark days. And on that theme, we will sing the hymn, Light One Candle. It is number 221 in our hymnal. Do not let the light go out. Do not let the light of hope go out in your heart, no matter how dark the days. Do not let the light of your own humanity go out, and never stop seeing the light of humanity in every other person. Keep the lights going through your own cultural and spiritual traditions, those you inherit from your ancestors. Keep them going. And keep lighting the candles together so that we may create the light we need in these times.